Good morning. Today's topic is the nephrotic syndrome. We will see one by one the definition, pathophysiology, clinical features, treatment. So, learning objective of today's lecture is the definition, pathophysiology, etiology, clinical features, and diagnosis of the nephrotic syndrome. So, first we will start with the definition. Nephrotic syndrome is a renal glomerular disorder characterized by the massive proteinuria, hypoalbuminemia, hypercholesterolemia with edema. So this is a symptom present in the nephrotic syndrome. This is mainly seen in the various glomerular disorder because it is a damage to the glomerulus and causes the loss of the protein and development of the syndrome. So, various glomerular disease presents with a nephrotic syndrome. So, what is the pathology? Pathophysiology. So, this is a structure of the glomerulus. In the nephron, we can see the Bowman's capsule and collecting ducts. In the Bowman's capsule, afferent and efferent arterioles are present which carries the blood to the glomerulus. From this, various elements like sodium, glucose, protein are filtered out and reabsorbed by the collecting duct. So this is a filtration membrane structure. In the lower part there is a capillary endothelial cell. Above this there is a basement membrane, and above this with the food process there is a podocytes. So this is the filtration membrane consisting of the three structure: endothelial cell, basement membrane and food process, and lastly urinary space. So albuminuria in the nephrotic syndrome, how it occurs? Normally the podocytes is negatively charged. So normally in a normal individual, the small amount of the protein is secreted from the capillary to the urinary space, which is reabsorbed by the collecting tubule. But in the glomerular disease, in which there is a damage to the podocyte which loses its negatively charged. Normally podocytes and glomerular basement membrane is negatively charged. So there is a repulsion of the protein which is negatively charged. But in the minimal change in nephrotic syndrome, the glomerular basement membrane loses its negatively charged, and loss of the negative charge leads to the inability to repel the small negatively charged protein like albumin. So this lead to increased loss of the albumin in the urine in spite of there being no mechanical damage to the membrane. So due to only negatively charged loss, there is a increased loss of the albumin from the blood to urine. So how this damage occurs to the podocyte? There is various mechanisms that lead to the damage to the podocytes. There are a defective T cell mediated immunity in the CD4 T cell. This leads to damage. Next is the activation of the interleukins like interleukin 2, interleukin 1, interleukin 6. This happens in the various infection. This also leads to the damage. Next is a complement factor like a C1, C2, C3, C4. This all causes deposition in a subepithelial or subendothelial and causes damage to the glomerular basement membrane. Other is an immune complex mediated injury like IgA, IgM, IgA and C3. These all complexes also deposited in the various part of the Bowman's capsule and causes damage to the basement glomerular filtration membrane. Next is anti-neutrophilic antibody. This also causes the damage. So this is various causes of the immunological damage. Now what are the non-immunological damage? These are the metabolic condition like diabetic nephropathy, hypertensive condition. This also causes a damage. Next, hypoalbuminemia itself causes a damage. Infection like HBs, AG, HIV also causes a damage, and drugs various. So these are the immunological and non-immunological mechanism which damage the glomerulus. Next is pathophysiology of the edema. Now protein is lost from the glomerulus. So how the edema will appear? This is the mechanism. So increase glomerular permeability to the albumin, which leads to albuminuria, which leads to hypoalbumin, decrease albumin concentration in the blood. So protein is responsible for the plasma oncotic pressure, which maintain the fluid balance in the interstitium and the cell. So this balance is hampered. So movement of the water occurs from the intravascular space to the interstitium. So there is a hypovolemia in the circulation. This leads to the non-osmotic ADH release, which in turn increase renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, which causes a sodium and water retention. This leads to edema, and there is a sympathetic nervous system stimulation in a CNS. So this also leads to water retention. This all simultaneously causes the edema. Another mechanism is there is a primary sodium renal sodium retention, which increases the blood pressure. Increased blood pressure leads to the altered Starling forces at the local tissue level. This also leads to the edema. So this two mechanism is there for development of the edema. Now what is the etiology of the nephrotic syndrome? There are various conditions in which the damage to the glomerulus. So damage to the glomerulus, these are the primary causes which lead to the damage in a glomerulus capsule. So these are the idiopathic nephrotic syndrome, minimal change in nephrotic syndrome. This 80% occurs in a age under the 7 years. 50% in age 7 to 14 years. So it is mainly seen in the children's. Then focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, membranous proliferative glomerulonephritis, membranous glomerulonephritis, and the congenital nephrotic syndrome. These are the all primary causes. This leads to the symptoms of the nephrotic syndrome. Other is the secondary causes in which there is a systemic disease which lead to the hampered function of the glomerulus. These are the SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus, Hennell's colon purpura, infection like hepatitis B, hepatitis C, malaria, syphilis, and other condition like drugs, malignancy, bee sting, diabetic nephropathy, amyloidosis, sarcoidosis, multiple myeloma. So these all primary and secondary causes present with a symptom of the nephrotic syndrome. Now what are the clinical features? So age, most commonly 6 months to 7 years. It has an insidious onset. Second, edema is present. So site for the edema is a first periorbital edema, then anasarca, generalized edema can be present. Other is oliguria, which follows the edema. First edema develops, then oliguria develops, and there is a male predominance. So in this picture, a child has a periorbital edema. In this, the ascites is present, pedal edema is present, vulval penile scrotum edema can also be developed. This, in the first picture, pitting edema is present, visible veins with a massive ascites. In the second picture, so edema is a pitting. Bilateral pedal edema can develop. Sacral edema, periorbital, scrotal, abdominal ascites, pleural effusion also can develop. Now nephrotic syndrome versus the acute glomerular nephritis. So this is a condition which can mimics a same symptoms. So we have to differentiate whether it is a nephrotic syndrome or acute glomerular nephritis, because the treatment of both is different. Nephrotic syndrome is insidious onset, acute glomerular nephritis is a acute onset, and it is a post-streptococcal infectious disease. In the nephrotic syndrome, edema, especially anasarca, develop, while in the acute glomerular nephritis, first symptom is a hematuria and the oliguria initially. Nephrotic syndrome, oliguria develops later, and glomerulonephritis, edema develops later. In the nephrotic syndrome, there is a decrease in the circulatory volume, which leads to the hypovolemic shock. While in the acute glomerulonephritis, there is a hypertension. In nephrotic syndrome, various edema develops, so leads to ascites and pleural effusion. While in the acute glomerulonephritis, there is a seizure and the congestive cardiac failure because of the hypertension. So these are the differential point of nephrotic syndrome and acute glomerulonephritis. Now, what are the atypical features which can develop in the nephrotic syndrome? These are the gross hematuria. This happens when there is a severe damage to the glomerulus, which leads to the filtration of the RBC, which appears in the urine. So hematuria appears. Second is a hypertension. Next is a steroid resistant, because some patients are resistant to the treatment of the steroid, so they develop different symptoms. There is a joint involvement, skin rash, or renal failure can also be developed. Now, what are the investigation for the nephrotic syndrome? First, we have to carry out the routine investigation. Then we have to go for the specific investigation. First, routine is a hematology, in which we have to see the hemoglobin concentration, total blood count, and differential count. Hemoglobin concentration, which rule out the anemia. Differential count to rule out the infection. Urine, in which urine routine micro is done. Protein dipstick is used to detect the proteinuria. Next is a sugar in the urine. Next, lipiduria is present or not. Microscopy is done, and culture and sensitivity to detect the urinary tract infection. These are the routine investigation, from which we can get an idea of whether it's a case of the nephrotic syndrome or not. Next, biochemistry. We have to do blood urea, creatinine, serum create, serum electrolyte, and the serum cholesterol to see the hypercholesterolemia. So this is the also routine investigation of the biochemistry. Urine for the protein. This is a qualitative method in which the turbidometric method, the renaturation of the precipitation of the urinary protein by the acid and the heat turbidity compared to the standard. So if the protein is present, there is a development of the turbidity on the urine when we heat the urine within the test tube. So it is a qualitative, whether it checks the presence or absence of the protein. Now, quantitative method is a dipstick method, in which the grading is given to the according to the concentration of a protein in the urine. These are the TRES +1, +2, +3, +4. TRES is a 15 to 30 milligram per dl, +1 is a 30 to 100, +2 100 to 300, +3 300 to 1000, and +4 is a more than 1000. So according to the concentration, there is a development of the different color. So from this we can measure the amount of the protein present in the urine. Now, specific investigation. We have got a rough idea about the investigation. Now we have to go for the specific test. So 24-hour urine protein, which confirms the range of the proteinuria, because in the nephrotic syndrome we are getting a more than 3 gram per 24 hour of the protein loss. So we have to collect the 24-hour urine and measure the total protein from it. Next is a serum complement level. Is it done only if atypical features are present. Next is HBsAg, HIV. This any other etiology is present, we have to go for that. Next, Montoux test to rule out the tuberculosis. Next is a chest X-ray, whether pleural effusion is present or not. We have to rule out this. So we have to do chest X-ray. Next is a renal biopsy. This is the histological examination of the renal tissue to see the type of the disease present. So renal biopsy also done. Next is a electron microscopy can also be done. Fluorescent microscopy, electron microscopy, this all see the deposition location, whether it is endothelial, epithelial, mesangial deposit. This also can be seen in the electron microscopy. Now this is a diagnostic triad of the nephrotic syndrome. First, edema is present, and the investigation: proteinuria, urinary protein more than 3 gram per day, hypoalbuminemia, serum albumin less than 2.5 gram per dl, and hypercholesterolemia, serum cholesterol more than 250 milligram per dl is present. So this is the classical triad of the nephrotic syndrome. Now, what is the treatment? First, we have to confirm the diagnosis that it is a case of a nephrotic syndrome, and then confirm the typical versus atypical features. Rule out any infection like HIV, HBsAg, tuberculosis. This all we have to rule out. And rule out any complication like a hematuria, skin rash, joint involvement. This all complication we have to rule out. And educate the parent and child. This is the first step for the treatment. And the treatment is a general supportive edema management. First we have to do edema management, then complication management, whether it is a present we have to do, like ascites, pleural effusion, we have to do tapping of this. So according to the condition we have to do the different management. Now vaccination is not specific, but we can give the vaccine for the H influenza to prevent the infection. And the main line of the treatment is a corticosteroid. These are the given in the different dose and the different time according to the age of the patient and the weight of the patient. Now what are the complications can develop? These are the massive edema, malnutrition, infection like a peritonitis, cellulitis, pneumonia, UTI, thromboembolism, hypotension, shock. This all can be developed. Or there is a hypothyroidism, iron deficiency, anemia, vitamin D deficiency, growth failure, steroid toxicity. So we have to follow up the patient for the development of the complication, and if the complication develop, we have to manage it. Conclusion: nephrotic syndrome is the commonest glomerular disorder in the children. It has a chronic clinical course with a recurrent episode of the edema. Response to the steroid therapy is a good response. Close follow-up of the child and monitoring for the side effect of the immunosuppressant is important. So this is a very important to see whether it is a confirmed case of the nephrotic syndrome or not, because it responds very well to the steroid therapy. And the next important point is we have to do follow-up for this, because of there is a chances of various complication and side effect of the immunosuppressant. So we have to do close follow-up of the patient. So this is about the nephrotic syndrome. Thank you.